Hey everybody, I want to do another crazy hard hat hair talk with you all today about staying employed during slow times. So, in the past, I've definitely noticed that if you are an apprentice, it is much more difficult to stay employed during slow times because they kind of just view you as very expendable. It's very noticeable in the hiring process when you're just considered an apprentice and everyone is like, oh, you're just an apprentice, like you're gonna take up all this time and cause all this extra havoc. And in reality, you're actually providing like a very amazing service at a below market value rate. So it is just something that I think you can get the most bang for your buck. You don't want to necessarily be out of work during times that you didn't plan for. In my experience in non-union work, at least, there are slow times around the last quarter of the year. So if you ever come across like November, December is typically where like the slowest times are. So if you can stay on through those times, you'll have a better chance of riding out when work is slow. So I'd recommend that if you are considering, maybe if you're considering that like you're not sure if your work has enough work, that you potentially jump ship before massive layoff comes, and you were trying to be nice by staying and thinking that they cared about you, but in reality they're planning on cutting you loose. It's a good idea to have, I would say, it's like maybe just send out a couple of resumes and stuff to different contractors that you've heard of that are good in your area. I think that's always a good idea near the end of the year, just because if it's a time when you can, for instance, gauge whether or not you think that there is a position for you going forward in the company. So like, I think that's a good way to stay ahead of the curve of making sure that you don't end up, on the chopping block. It's just like, am I being valued at this company? It's a time for you to do that, and also prepare in the case of putting your name out, giving it to certain companies, just so that you can be, have your bases covered in case the worst happens. So that's just a preemptive sort of thing. But if it's getting in more of a dire situation, like if you have somebody who's in the know, you should ask them, talk to them about, if they know if there's cuts coming soon, like if there's someone who's going to be honest with you, knowing that person can really help you plan for your future. Like, you don't even have to be like conspiratorial about it. Like, you just got to be like, hey man, I'm just trying to plan for my future. Like, if you guys don't need guys and you're trying to save money, like, I will just cut loose and go someplace else. But before you do that, make sure that you have something sort of set up. Certain people can take that the wrong way, but if they understand, take advantage of that and ask that question, because it could save you, being on the couch for, a couple of weeks when you didn't plan on taking a trip or a vacation or what have you, or didn't have savings set up to take advantage of those times. It kind of brings up a good point, is that the end of the year typically is a time when there are layoffs. So, it may end up working in your favor if you plan trips for around December. It is definitely potentially a more expensive time to travel, because there's a couple of big holidays around that time that can up the cost of travel. But it's definitely something to consider. Be like, oh, I plan on taking off 2 weeks in this time, and if work was planning on like cutting guys loose, if you could just sit at home for like 1 week, but you took a trip for like 2, like that's a way to get around that. But outside of like preemptive stuff and planning for the worst, just like everyday stuff that you can do is, for instance, like getting to know the people at your job. It's very easy to just show up, run pipe, and clock out and go home and then repeat. And there are definitely some jobs that just grind like a motherfucker, and there's not really much you can do. But staying lively is definitely an important thing in life in general. And I don't mean this to the point of brown nosing. I think brown nosing is the most like sad thing that you can do as a worker. Like, it's already embarrassing enough that like without your day job, you know, you wouldn't have anything. So like, why are you brown nosing on top of it? Like, I don't know, whatever. Maybe that's just my take. But anyways, so like be lively, like get to know people. And also like, when I first started out, I was like, oh, if I could do good work, then I'll be remembered. But like, it's honestly, there's so many guys that are able to like go like become part of a crew because they're the funny guy, or like they're the guy that like schmoozes or something. Like, they don't really do a lot of work, but they are like, they're like the comic relief for like the they just have a good vibe about them. Like, it's just kind of funny how that actually does go a long way. So like, having a good outlook on life, and also just like, you know, being there to, you know, have a good time, it goes a long way. And I'd say that the amount of times that I've seen someone who's just good at schmoozing like succeed over a guy who's like just like gets his work done and like does a good job, runs clean pipe, and like, but is like a complete introvert. Like, it definitely, you know, that guy could step up his game if he like got to know other foremen or other people, or like had work like relationships that exceeded, you know, just like asking someone for couplings. Like like if you actually have like a dynamic at work, relationship was a bit of a strong word, but if you have like a dynamic at work that's like, you know, you make work fun. Like, it's something that is important, and it does make a difference in how people view you. And so I do think that that personable aspect to going to work and being a presence is important. And I think over time, what people are looking for management, like long term, if someone sees that you have like management like potential, like, it's that you can talk to people and divvy up work. Like, I did kind of a video about this before, about like, what does it take to be a foreman. And personally, I've never become a foreman, but I recently became a journeyman, and in my experience, it definitely is basically the exact same as how it was when I was an apprentice, except I actually get paid more closely to what I'm worth. So really all it is like, what I think becoming a journeyman is, and what the next step is just like, is being able to carry out the work. That's obviously one of the most important things, but it's also being able to dish out work. Like, for instance, if you're a journeyman who just like works by themselves and you know, get stuff done, like, you're valuable, but they want someone who's able to like run crews and like give out direction and be like a wealth of knowledge, as well as like a part of the team, and helps with work getting completed, not for just themselves, but also for like the entire group. So like, that's to that point of like schmoozing and like being a people, like just getting to know the people. It goes a long way. So I think that can be a helpful tool at being remembered and not making the chopping block, because they'll be like, oh, I kind of like that guy. Like, outside of like whatever work you do or whatever, like having that personable touch can actually go a long way. So I think it's very easy in construction to just grunt and like not be personable. A lot of guys are just like completely sour and just not a great time to be around. But like there are guys that just like can cut through the tension of anything and like just make work more enjoyable, and they do go remembered. So more than the work or how serious you were or whatever. So yeah, I would definitely say that don't knock being a person who gets to know other people and how important that is. So consider that for sure. I think that's one of the biggest things outside of doing good work and like following up and making sure you're doing something right and making sure that you're covering your bases and making sure that you're able to, you know, perceive like potential things that could come up and screw up your work, or like just those things. Asking those questions will put you on as a person who cares about their work for sure. And those things can go a long way, and I can go all into that, but I kind of just wanted to talk about mainly personable aspects to being seen and being remembered for layoffs and trying to miss that spot. So doing good work and also having a human aspect to it is insanely important. I could do a whole another video about tips about being a good electrician, but there isn't a personable aspect that is undeniable. And if you don't have that as part of your wheelhouse, you really ought to step up your game. And you know, it only benefits you in general in life, having that personable attitude as well. So that's just a quick video for today. Let me know if you guys have any other tips or experiences that you've seen where someone who is just maybe like hamming it up with everybody, but they really just are just not that great of an electrician, and how they're there like no matter what. So let me know, and I'll catch you all in the next one.